Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this the 23rd day of January. Got a great show with you for tonight. Going to talk to the Titans flagship station, Rich Ferris, returning guest here. Going to get his opinion and take on this Brian Callahan hiring here. That was who Rich wanted the Titans to hire. Brian Callahan, offense coordinator for Cincinnati Bengals, has accepted the job to become the Tennessee Titans head coach. Going to get Rich's thoughts on that now that the hire has been made. Plus, Adrian Griffin was fired from the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll talk about that after the short break here, Pickles. And also Brad Holmes. Listen, this guy does not get the credit he deserves. Brad Holmes, the general manager of the Detroit Lions, looking over what accomplishments that he has gotten in this short period of time here since taking over the Lions in 2021. They are in the NFC Championship game this weekend, playing for the Super Bowl. Going to talk about all that and more. Stand by. Go ahead and take our first and only break. I'll be back here in 49 seconds. We'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Righty then. Now I'm back here, trying to get my screen here situated. Okay. Yeah, so Adrian Griffin, we're talking 30-13, 43 games out of an 82-game season. Bucks decided to fire him. Listen, I was reading this Shams Charania, a really good reporter for The Athletic, had a good piece on this and all the intricacies of what happened here going back to October. Listen, they had an assistant totally just stepped down. And I think his name was Terry Scott's here. Stepped down back in October before the season even started here. Just a very rough, bumpy start here for the first-year coach, Adrian Griffin, on Tuesdays, what he says. It was born out of months, this is from The Athletic, of underwhelming play with internal concerns growing about the severe decline of the once elite defense, flawed use of newcomer Damian Lillard, long franchise, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Listen, this team was the first in defense, and now I want to say they're 27th. Okay. When you take a job like this, I've used the Terry Francona analogy. Grady Little, when he was fired back in 2003, after the 2003 season with the Boston Red Sox, they had already got to the ALCS there and got put out. It was kind of a choke job there. Left in Pedro Martinez too long. Boston goes on, loses that series to the Yankees. So Terry Francona hired, and everybody was saying the same thing. And I was thinking, yeah, you're here to win the World. This team's already got to the ALCS, okay? You're here to get us over the top here, okay? When Budenholzer was fired, listen, this team was the number 1 seed in the NBA. They were beat. Yes, they had some injuries, but they were beat by the 8 seed. That is very rare. You very rarely see that. This is the second time in my life, about 30 years of watching the NBA here, that I've seen that happen. I know that the Mavericks were put out by the Golden State Warriors one year as a 1-8. But anyways, this team had won a championship back in 21. There was some fear that maybe Giannis would bolt towards free agency coming up pretty soon. The Damian Lillard, I thought this probably would be the best landing spot with the 1-2 punch there of Lillard, a very hungry player, wanting to get a championship, superstar caliber player in his 30s. He's ready to win now as well. The organization's ready to win big now as well with Giannis. When you go from 1st to 27th and you're still, January. By the way, here's a flashback for you. When the stakes are high like this, big things happen. Big things happen quickly. For example, David Blatt back in January of 2016, folks. Remember that? 8 years ago, David Blatt back in, that was the Cavaliers head coach there. Could not get on the right page with the Cavaliers. LeBron had his issues in the playoffs with Blatt. In the previous season there, remember he's saying, well, I want to take the last shot, and it was drawn up for him not to take the last shot. So he ends up, they drew up the play for him to take the last shot. That was in 15 playoffs against the Bulls. Fast forward to the next season, still has some problems. They weren't terrible. But not playing up to par. That team had Kevin Love, made the big trade there, had Kyrie Irving. So David Blatt fired in January, only like a year or so into the job. Then you go out and get Ty Lue was the assistant coach. Ty Lue, much more assertive coach here with the players, including LeBron James, asking the players to get back on defense, not messing around. We know what happened that year. They went on and beat the Golden State Warriors in 7 games and win the championship. So this guy, like I said, defense falls off with the expectations. Offense was pretty good. The offense is pretty good. But that being said, a lot of that was on talent. The games that I have watched of Damian Lillard and Giannis together, it's still you score, I score. You don't want to have that Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant type of deal there. You want to have a good fluid offense, okay? So, and of course, the stupidest thing I read about this all day was that they wanted to go out and hire Doc Rivers. Well, you should go ahead and bring back Mike Budenholzer if you want another coach to choke away success here. Doc Rivers fired last 2 jobs here, LA Clippers and then the Philadelphia 76ers here, underachieving there with both teams, essentially. He's got some success back in 08. Kind of found lightning in a bottle there, if you want to say that, with that Boston Celtics team. Won a championship. His teams had a tendency of blowing, 3-1 leads, more than any coach I've ever heard of. I just would not take Doc Rivers with this particular team. Kenny Atkinson, make sure I got his name right, so I'm not blowing this guy's name. Kenny Atkinson was he's an assistant coach there of the Golden State Warriors. He's been interviewed. He's been listed as an assistant. And listen, folks, I actually threw up the name of a Jeff Van Gundy. He was fired from ESPN last year. He's taken a consultant job with the Boston Celtics. There were some rumors that he wanted to maybe get back in coaching. He's only 62. This guy was coaching in his 40s. Been coaching for a long time. Back in 99 with the Knicks here. Got them to the finals. So Chris Hayes here of TNT, pretty good reporter, saying that Jeff Van Gundy is a guy with Nate McMillan. Now, McMillan was a coach there of Atlanta. Now, Jeff Van Gundy would be a good hire. Old school guy, wants the guys to get back on defense. Somebody like him. Mark Jackson's name's been thrown up I've also thought Mark Jackson would be a decent. He got that Golden State team to play defense. You throw up him. You throw up a Mark Jackson. You throw out a Jeff Van Gundy. Here's a wild card that I've been talking about for a while now. Now, Celtic fans don't want to hear this, but possibly a Sam Cassell assistant there with the Celtics. Nobody's mentioned that. I'm just throwing that as my personal, just seeing that little video of him working with James Harden when he was an assistant coach with the 76ers here. It's different when you're assistant versus a head coach. You know, it's the same thing when I'm going to have Rich Ferris come over here in about 15, 20 minutes. Titans, hired an offensive-minded head coach. When you're just an offensive coordinator, and there's certain plays here that are aggressive that maybe the defensive-minded head coach do not want to call in certain aspects of the game, okay? But the offensive guy does want to call, but the defensive guy does not want to call. Well, if the defensive-minded guy is the head coach, he's your boss. So you got to do what he says, right? So same thing here in basketball. So I would definitely like to see a Jeff Van Gundy back in the NBA. That would be awesome. I would not, the fans would revolt for that. How stupid can you be to hire a guy like Doc Rivers? He would be the last one. My first one would be Jeff Van Gundy, then maybe a Kenny Atkinson, then maybe a Mark Jackson, somebody like that of that nature. But when you make something mid-season like this, you really got to have your ducks in a row. You got to have your ducks in a row if you are the Milwaukee Bucks. So again, it's not a complete failure for Mason. Sam Cassell, I want to say, has got 3 rings, 2 with the Houston Rockets there, and 1 with the Boston Celtics there. And Cassell's a good coach, man. Really good player, good coach there. Been an assistant, I want to say, since 2008, 2009. So he's got quite a few years under his belt here as an assistant. He's not a guy that just walked out of being a player on to being a head coach here. So that is an interesting story, especially when you got the star power of a Giannis and a Damian Lillard on that particular team. Really caught me off guard there, firing Adrian Griffin. Listen, but hey, Milwaukee, they're not resting on their laurels. They want to win, so I'm okay with that. They're still in the playoff hunt right now, but they want to beat Boston. They want to beat Boston, and they want to beat Denver in the West. But listen, I mean, even with their record, they were blown out by teams like Houston and stuff like that. So, it's I can understand what the moves was made for. If you just look at the headline, you think the Bucks are crazy. But if you got to have everything in proper context, you say, okay, that's why they did what they did. Just like here in Nashville, I mean, you look at Mike Vrabel as the coach here. He had a winning record. I mean, overall as a coach, but you look at the last 2 years, you look at the trends of the league, and you could kind of understand why the ownership made the move that they did. These coaches are well compensated, especially in the NFL, but NBA too. They're really well compensated. They know the business that they're in. It's very unstable at times, but you're compensated so much you can take a year or 2 or 3 off and still be A-okay. All right. Now, listen, everybody's talking about Dan Campbell. I like Dan Campbell. I mean, he grew on me there as a he grew on me as a coach there. He had a terrible talk about the Lions head coach there. Had a terrible opening press conference talking about biting kneecaps off, stuff like that. Real wild. This sound like, man, this guy's going to be a knucklehead. They're going to be just as bad as Matt Patricia. But the truth of the matter is, team played well, made some really good moves, put some talented players around him. But listen, this guy, Brad Holmes, just general manager here, a lot of that you can ask some of the best coaches out there that's been fired over the years. Bill Belichick, okay. Herb Edwards is really doing well with the Jets. Great defense, hardly any penalties, And he said, when you lose your quarterback here, all this motivational speech goes by the wayside when we're 5-11 back in them days when they only had 16 games. So, Brad Holmes here, this guy, he's came here in 21, right? He took over a 5-11 team as the general manager. And, immediately they make the move in 21, get Penei Sewell there from Oregon, been a starter ever since there, moved him on side. And then in the 4th round, get USC's Alamon St. Brown. He's your leading receiver there. And, then you fast forward to, was it in 21 actually? In 21, yeah. In 21, then you get the Jared Goff trade. A lot of people thought, Jared Goff, the Rams didn't want him, couldn't win the Super Bowl, going to be a bad trade. But listen, folks, the Lions got Jared Goff. They got the 3rd round pick. They got the 2022 first round pick and the 2023 first round pick. And the picks here, you got Jamison Williams. That was their pick. That was the Rams pick. Not to mention the fact that with going in that 2022 draft here, you got Goff. We got that part out of the way, right? They got Jamison Williams here, Aiden Hutchinson in that same draft, Kirby Joseph. These guys are all playing, and that was in 2022, right? Then you flip over to this past year's draft. These players are making plays like nobody's business in the playoffs here. Rookies here. Jabbar Gibbs. I was one of those people. I thought, man, I don't know, 12th pick overall running back. You really need help on that defense. Defense is getting torched. And, the way they saw it, the guy would not be on the board with their 18th pick. So they went on and got Jabbar Gibbs, great all-purpose player out of Alabama. Guy was one of the first ever rookie to get a go-ahead touchdown in the divisional round. I don't know where the NFL comes up with all these stats, but it happened. I read that off of NFL.com today with Jabbar Gibbs. And then they turn around and get Jack Campbell, linebacker out of Iowa. This guy started every game. And Sam Laporta. They got Sam Laporta here, tight end out of Iowa in the 2nd round. This is back in April, right? Let's rewind to the 2022 trade deadline. TJ Hawkinson. This was one of the boldest moves out there, Pickles. They turn around and trade TJ, their leading, who was coming up on a contract here. TJ Hawkinson, star tight end, drafted really high by the former regime there, the former general manager and coaching staff here, to an in-division rival that's unheard of, especially for a player that is in his prime. TJ Hawkinson, at the time, I said, man, if this guy kills you in a big playoff game, the fans will never, ever let this down. And what do you know? They went out and said, you know what? We think we can get another tight end in the draft here. And who's that guy's name? Brock whatever. Wasn't a bad tight end that they had on the staff. But here's some NFL research here. Listen to Laporta's stats, including the playoffs. This guy's got wide receiver stats. Laporta this season, including the playoffs, 98 catches, 960 yards, 11 touchdowns. Those are big wide receiver type of numbers. Again, Sam Laporta would be rookie of the year if Puka Nacua didn't destroy the league this year with the Rams here. So you look at him, then you compare him to a guy like George Kittle. At one time, I thought maybe George Kittle was number 2 in the league behind Travis Kelce. George Kittle here with the 49ers, 69 catches, 1,100 yards, just 7 touchdowns here. I mean, we're talking practically a 30-catch difference here. Now, of course, Kittle's got more yards, but Laporta's got 4 touchdowns more. Laporta was a rookie, man. So we're talking big play, big production here. You don't hit that. I don't care how high you draft, okay? It's very rare to hit that many home runs in just one draft. Okay, Jabari Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta. I'm not even finished with last year's draft, all done by Brad Holmes, the general manager of the Detroit Lions. Brian Branch got a safety sack here, opening week interception against the Kansas City Chiefs. These are safety out of Alabama, second-round pick here. Just a well of a player. Just an absolute well. And, of course, they got Hendon Hooker in the 3rd round. Not sure how he's going to – he was coming back out of injury here. So you start to put all these players together, and you're putting them with like an Aiden Hutchinson here out of the 2022 draft. All these players, him and Jamison Williams out of Alabama, Kirby Joseph, still on rookie contracts. But Sam Laporta, Jabari Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch here, all on rookie contracts, you know. So you've got a guy like Jared Goff who some may thought, man, this may be a throwaway player. He's making a decent salary here, just under $30 million. Depends on what you look at, which site you look at. 31 million, which now is considered middle class here. When it comes to quarterback salaries, you got a lot of quarterbacks now making 45, 50 plus million. When you start getting into the Lamar Jacksons, your Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen salaries, even Russell Wilson's going to balloon up like that as well here. I would try to keep Goff at a reasonable price here because I don't know what they have with Hendon Hooker. But this is all Brad Holmes. I mean, you got to give this guy some credit like nobody's business making these moves. I thought it would be a pretty good trade when they traded Matt Stafford for Jared Goff in those picks. And you know something, looking back on it, it really turned into a win-win situation. If you look at what Detroit has done with those picks, okay, you look at what Detroit has done with those picks and the fact that Matt Stafford wins a Super Bowl with the LA Rams. He actually gets another. That was one of the best win-win trades I've read about in a very long time, you know. And again, hey, I don't know how much he was involved, but when stuff like this is made, you usually you look someone to praise or give the blame to. Brad Holmes all day. I don't know if he was involved with hiring Dan Campbell. I don't know how much the organization was involved there, but you got him, you got Dan Campbell. And look, Dan Campbell, he's put together a great staff here. This offensive coordinator, I think his name is Ben Johnson, been the hottest name, not named Jim Harbaugh, in the talks here. And you throw in Bill Belichick, of course. Belichick's pretty close to retirement. He's in his 70s. You look at that, you know, I don't know. They just hit a lot of home runs here. This guy, going back to Johnson, he's got 2 offers that are on the table ready for him to be signed. And one of them, I think, is 2 NFL offers. I don't know if I didn't actually get the actual names of these particular teams. But I'll say this. the Falcons, the Commanders and the Falcons. Tom Pelissero, the NFL Network, said the Commanders and the Falcons are both expected to send contingent to Detroit next week to conduct second interviews with OC Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. I misread that, but it looked like that they were potentially going to be able to bring him in. So, anyways, got Rich back behind the stage 5 minutes early. Very excited about this news, but kudos to Brad Holmes, man. You got to give management a big heads up there. He's killing it in Detroit. He's one of the guys that put all that thing together and turned that thing around. What's going on, Rich? There you are. Sorry, I almost didn't click you here. I'm pretty excited about this hire here with Brian Callahan, the Tennessee Titans. Did want to get your initial thoughts. We know what you said last week, that you thought you would hope that he would be the guy. And what's your initial reaction, man?
Well, I think it's good on the Titans for going and getting their guy, since they're, still a lot of candidates out there available, and didn't miss out on who, they wanted to get. He had 2 interviews lined up to, go to, and they essentially said, no, you're not leaving, and let's get a deal done, and they got a deal done, and I think they're going to officially announce tomorrow the actual hiring. But I think it's good on them to get the top candidate that they wanted.
Did you think he was number one? You didn't think anybody else was ahead of him? Bobby Slowick, or I mentioned Johnson out of Detroit.
I think Ben Johnson had a good chance. They haven't even got a chance to interview Bobby Slowick yet, because of the playoffs, and I think, obviously they're eliminated now, but I don't think he interviewed at all with them, or maybe he did virtually, but on the second round they only did him, and only did Brian Callahan and Thomas Brown, the OC of the Panthers, who I wouldn't count out as being hired here as the OC, by the way.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice.
I think it's very possible that the reason for that second interview, well, it's two reasons, I think, to comply with the Rooney Rule that the NFL has, and to possibly see if they could bring him in like they did Matt LaFleur and his time here in Tennessee when Mike Vrabel was first hired, to maybe come in as an OC and then maybe get a head coaching job next year.
Yeah. Cool beans. What was your reaction with all these rumors of bringing in Dan Quinn?
Well, they interviewed Dan Quinn. I thought maybe I think he was in the mix during the Ken Wisenhunt hiring, and at that time I thought Dan Quinn would have been a good choice, because he went on to have some success in Atlanta, went to a Super Bowl, and then back to Seattle, or maybe not Seattle. He went to the Cowboys. So he's a good coach. I don't know if he would have been the guy that they're really wanting. Obviously not. I think they wanted to go to an offensive guy, and that's what they did.
Yeah. I was relieved, man. I tell you. I mean, when you fire a guy that is good a coach as Vrabel was, that was defensive sided, then you get a guy like a Dan Quinn, and a lot of people saying, well, the reason why he got to that Super Bowl is because he had Kyle Shanahan as the OC back in them days. Then after Shanahan left, year 1, year 2, that team started getting perpetually worse. Plus, Matt Ryan was getting a little older. Julio Jones was getting older. So why do you think that this would be a better hire than a Bobby Slowick? You think maybe Slowick's still a little young?
Yeah, I think he's still a little green.
Green, yeah. There you go. Better.
I think with Callahan, he's grown up in football. His dad's the offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns, who I would expect to him to come over to the Titans and be the offensive line coach. I think there would have to work out some kind of permission for them to do that, or he would have to get hired in a higher role than what he is there. But I would expect that that he would be a part of this team as well. But anyways, you know, they've all played football. His entire family's been in football, and his dad, like I said, is the offensive line coach for the Cleveland Browns, and you know, is one of the best offensive lines in the league. And so I think, you know, getting him on board is pretty crucial considering how bad the offensive line has been here for the last couple of years.
Man, right? You know, I was just talking about that yesterday. Look at the injuries that the Browns had. Left tackle out for the season, right tackle out for the season, and they still found a way to block up front. Bill Callahan. Do you think the Browns would let him move on to Tennessee since he's still under contract?
Like I said, they would have to request permission for him to come aboard, and they would have to grant that, or they would have to hire him in a higher role. I don't think that they're necessarily looking at making him an offensive coordinator, but
maybe
I think there's some ways around it. But you would kind of hope in a way that, all right, your son's the first time head coach, and you know, Bill Callahan's probably in the later years of his coaching career too. He'd probably want to end his coaching career with his son. So you would think maybe they have some kind of heart for it if that's what they wanted to do, to just give him that permission. But they don't necessarily have to. I mean, they're wanting to, keep that offensive line. Just, they're competitive too. They don't want to lose a great coach and affect them winning games. So, and of course, Jimmy Haslam's kind of running the ship there. So you never know how he's going to be.
He is a competitive old man, ain't he?
Yeah. So, maybe they will. Maybe it'll be an easy thing for him to come over and be a part of the Titan staff, or maybe they won't let him, and that may, may have to look at other candidates. Which interesting is as Mike Munchak has thrown his name out there, saying that he would be willing to come play, coach football here, and I think maybe still lives in the area or something. But that would be, I think that they could definitely have a few candidates out there that are good coaches if they wanted them.
Okay, now you're talking the former head coach for the Titans is that the same Mike Munchak, former offensive line coach? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he leave Pittsburgh? Do you know anything about that? That's a great name right there.
Did he go to Denver after Pittsburgh?
I think he was an offensive line coach for Pittsburgh for a while.
Yeah, and then he went to Denver, and then
Denver. Okay, too.
I don't know what happened after that, other than obviously Denver's changed their coaching staff a couple times recently. I'm not sure.
Yeah. That I tell you what, that's a great name. Mike Golick from Mike and Mike. Remember those two guys? Mm-hmm. He was really high on Munchak as a player. And
he's a Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean,
he said you can never
outstanding
tell
player,
run or pass, Richard. The way he lined up,
Yeah, I mean, he was a great coach here too. I mean,
he was, wasn't he?
Gosh, I mean, during that era, I mean, you never seen a bad offensive line during that era that he was here.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, if you guys think about it, some of the audience here that's watched the Titans since they first became the Titans, the Bruce Matthews of the world. What, did they have Runyon here at one time?
Yeah.
I mean, these guys played really well, and he was just a really good coach here. Munchak would be a home run. Callahan's realized as one of the best line coaches. Remember, he was the Raiders head coach back in 2002. He's not really head coaching material. He don't have the person.
No, I don't think he's looking to do that either. I mean, obviously he's looking to team up with his son here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, to coach offensive line, which would, is like I said, the biggest need of at least on the team that needs the biggest attention is that. So, and they get the 7th overall pick right now, and I would expect them to use that on some offensive line. But we'll see.
Do you think this will affect the team? If he's not, I know it's Torrey Davenport. He thinks that they'll tag T. Higgins, but Tyler Boyd supposedly is going to be available. What about maybe a Jonah Williams? He's going to be available.
It would be interesting to see what kind of free agents from Cincinnati, would come over. we'll see. Obviously, I would love to see T. Higgins, back here in Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
And I think he should have been drafted by the Titans during that 2020 draft. But they decided to draft Isaiah Wilson instead. So
You had to remind me.
I think I've mentioned that before. And if they would have drafted him in that place, they would have had Corey Davis, T. Higgins, and AJ Brown on the same team, and Julio Jones at some point. So you swing and miss them at sometimes, but that was a huge miss. And but it would be nice to see T come back, and he's from Tennessee to play here.
Right?
They have the money to pay him, so we'll see.
Yeah. And you know what? You've got Will Levis on a rookie contract there. I'm okay with overwhelming a rookie with talent. I tell you, what about Callahan that stuck out with you more than the other guys? Anything particular?
I think we're in this age of NFL head coachings they're people that are so young and doesn't have a lot of experience, and he's had quite a bit of experience. He's been in one place for a while, and has I heard nothing but great things from players and coaches, and he's been around really good quarterbacks. He's coached Peyton Manning. He's coached Matthew Stafford, and Derek Carr. I mean, who's not as big as those two names, but a solid quarterback in the league. And I remember reading something where when Peyton Manning was in Denver and they were changing some staff, that he went above and beyond to make sure that Callahan stayed there and was his quarterback's coach or something or on the offensive staff. So that speaks volumes considering it's coming from him.
Something that really got me, and I was talking about this yesterday, but I didn't have his name. I wanted to look up the name to make sure. The aggressive play calling with Jake Browning. When Burrow went down, I said, okay, this team is done. Well, Cincinnati's got they had a winning record. They just happened to be in the best division in football in the AFC North. Nobody had a losing record. Remember here at the Titans when McNair went down, they put Billy Bolick. Remember that name?
Yeah.
We got
Billy
very
Bolick.
Conservative with Billy Bolick. But not Bill Callahan or Brian Callahan,
Yeah, I think what he brings from offensive side, and to see them not, I mean, they did miss a beat because they had Joe Burrow, one of the best quarterbacks, go down, but they were efficient and they scored points and they won some games, and that just shows how well that they one had a guy that was a backup that was able to run the offense, and two that they were able to coach and prepare and do things to win games, and so that's credit to him and that staff.
Yeah, me too, man. And when I saw that name pop up, I thought, the Jake Browning. Pickle says, they had a huge O-line. So, like I've been saying for months, maybe the past 2 years on this program, that offensive-minded head coaches value the quarterback position more. They value the offensive line more. They don't wait till there's a disaster on the offensive line they get a step ahead of it. You saw Sean McVay, he gets a step, he moves off of Jared Goff. Luke Cal Shanahan, they said, listen, this Trey Lance kid, he's not going to make it. But look, this Mr. Irrelevant here, and Brock Purdy, I think, they have other words, they're not into this, let's run the ball, stop the run, play field position type of mindset. They're in an attack mode, because they realize that's the way to go, Yeah,
and that's a huge reason why I think they decided to go offensive head coach. He did. It was mentioned that he will be calling the plays here in Tennessee, and so I think that was a big check mark that they were looking for, is to find somebody with a new approach to the offense, a very modern offense. Not to necessarily say that Mike Vrabel didn't have a modern offense. it just was stale. And
Yeah.
and a lot of people want to point to Derrick Henry and making the offense revolve around him. You
Yeah.
know, which is interesting. I don't think Derrick Henry will be back, but I think that if the same offense that the Bengals run is coming to here, I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing if Derrick Henry came back
Yeah.
because the way that they run Joe Mixon. So
True.
I don't think that it's necessarily not a fit for Derrick Henry. However, I still think they're moving on because I think just mutually, Derrick's looking to kind of find a team that's ready to, win a Super Bowl, and I don't think the Titans are going to be there next year.
And he might not be sold on that,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hey, listen, Detroit didn't make the playoffs last year. They're in the NFC Championship game. You never know from year to year.
Yeah, I think the biggest example is obviously Houston this year. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody expected them to win more than probably 5 or 6 games, and they're in the divisional round of the playoffs. And I mentioned last week I thought they would upset the Ravens, but that didn't happen. But
Yeah.
it just shows how you hit good on a quarterback and some pieces that and some good coaching and everything. You're going to go far in this league. So. I
Yeah.
think Will Levis is going to get, with this kind of coach and probably a really good offensive coaching staff, that he's going to get every chance to be that franchise quarterback that you hope that he is as a Titans fan.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Listen, hey, they had Baltimore on the ropes for the half. They were 47-yard field goal missing. Baltimore settled in. I think that long layoff hurt Baltimore just like it hurt the 49ers. Both of them recovered. Obviously, Baltimore, really talented team. But, man, I was reading Houston. Houston's got a lot of money, too, next year.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I mean,
got Stroud.
yeah, and they, they're just cashing in all of those coins that they got from Deshaun Watson with those draft picks and just, unloading that money off their books. They really, they got a stud of a head coach. D'Amico Ryans is a really good coach, and they're just going to be even better next year, and which isn't the best news for Titans fans.
Yeah. And then, Jacksonville, they moved off their coordinator. So now you've got Trevor Lawrence, you've got CJ Stroud. I don't know about Richardson, but you can see they got a really talented team there. They were really close there. They beat the Ravens this year. The Colts.
Yeah, the Colts have been intriguing this year.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson started getting his stride, starting to look pretty settled in as a rookie, and then he does something to his shoulder and is out for the season during the Titans game when they were in Indy, and they have Gardner Minshew come in and just not be terrible, and they end up being in the mix to win the division. And so I think that they are in a kind of a weird spot, but I think they have a good head coach, and I think that Anthony Richardson will make some strides. I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to be as good as C.J. Stroud, but I think Anthony Richardson will be pretty good.
Do you think Stroud? Do you think he'll pass up Lawrence?
I don't think Trevor Lawrence is an elite quarterback anyways. I don't think that he's everything that people say. I think Jacksonville's been very kind of in the middle of the road. I don't think that they're really that great of a team.
Yeah.
And it showed this year. It showed last year. Like, they have all this talent. And so it's kind of hard to really pinpoint, outside of injuries and maybe just some bad coaching and decisions, but Trevor Lawrence turned the ball over a lot, and their offensive line has been not the best. I mean, they, like I said, they have pieces, but they barely won the division last year. They lost it this year, so I don't think the Jaguars should be put on this pedestal that they've been on for the last year and a half.
Yeah, well, that was a big comeback against the Chargers, but now we look at how bad this Charger team was coached. With Jim Harbaugh looking to get his second interview with the Chargers. Why would you think that Harbaugh wouldn't work with the Titans?
I just think it was control. They weren't even they didn't even reach out to him. They
Yeah.
didn't reach out to Belichick because I think it'd be in the same boat as where Mike Vrabel was. That those coaches want to have a lot of say and control of things, and the Titans wanted more of a collaborative approach and more of a
Yeah.
Rand Carthon, I think, making the decisions. And so, therefore, that just wouldn't work here. And that's why Mike Vrabel's not here any longer,
Yeah.
because they didn't want to have somebody come in just want to have all the say.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people, and I know he's in his second interview. I was reading today. He's air quote close. Maybe what is it? What's the holdup? I'm thinking they're probably trying to work on finances and everything, and maybe a staff. But if you're on a 5-year plan, you probably want to get Harbaugh. He runs hot everywhere he goes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's an outstanding coach, and I think that if he goes to the Chargers, I mean, they're going to thrive, especially with already having a pretty elite quarterback. So and I think that's just a good fit all around for both sides.
Yeah. Short term, he can bring in some talent. The talent's already there. He don't have to bring in much talent. Even if he wants control, you can give him control. He'll do good early, like Jimmy Johnson did. He did great 5 years. Of course, then he left. But after that, you could see possibly with guys like Pete Carroll, because you're that much more removed from the college game. I could see it not working out long term. And plus, like I said earlier, I mean, Jim Harbaugh runs hot. I'm like you. The control thing would have been an issue probably with Harbaugh. Of course, Belichick, I think he's just chasing that Don Shula 15 more wins short. He's getting the second interview with Atlanta, but then again, I hear Atlanta's reaching out to other people, so I don't know. Maybe
it'd be interesting to see what happens with him. And I know that that is a thing, a goal of his the past Shula.
Shula, yeah.
And but yeah, I think what the issue is, and we'll probably see a lot of hires here in the next day or two for two reasons. I think one, there's a lot of coaches that's now more available to do these interviews now that there's only 4 teams remaining in the playoffs, and so that's one. I think two, they have to comply with the Rooney Rule and those rules, so they're having to interview minority coaches and all that could be some challenges and scheduling. And then I think another reason why I think a lot of people will start hiring is because you have the Senior Bowl right around the corner. That's coming up, I believe, next weekend. And
it's always the weekend before the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, so they'll probably want to get some coaching staff in place to go down there to the Senior Bowl. And so I think here in the next 24, 48 hours, we're going to see a few hirings and maybe we'll know about Harbaugh, Belichick, and some of these other higher profile candidates.
Do you think maybe that Buffalo feels like, I just talked about a basketball store, Adrian Griffin, the Bucks fired their coach. he's not even coached. He's not even done through one season, but the bar's really high. Do you think maybe the Bills may fire Sean McDermott?
I don't know. I don't think they should. I do think that this window that they've had is going to be closing.
That window's getting small, ain't it, Rich?
Well, they're way over the cap, and they have a lot of free agents, and they're not going to be able to re-sign or sign a lot of people. They're going to have to cut. I think they're like 50-something million over the cap going into the season. So
Von Miller,
that's going to be a major haul of a roster. So I think that their Super Bowl window with their current group of talented guys is done after this, or done now because they're out. Just unfortunate they just had a kick that didn't go their way, and they had the wide right again.
Wide right, wide left. Yeah, and also it was windy up there though, and I was glad it didn't go through. I don't think they would have had a shot in the dark against the Ravens, man, with those injuries on defense for Buffalo.
I don't know. I think I think the Bills or the Chiefs have a really good chance of beating the Ravens.
So who you really? Well, I tell you
Yeah.
what, if anybody can do it, Spagnato and that defense can hold that Ravens offense down, and maybe Andy Reid, he's gonna have to play his best game. I don't know. The Ravens are really
Well,
good.
the Chiefs offense, they can't have any mishaps. They can't have a Valdez Scantling drop a pass. You know, they have to be
Well, he made
perfect.
some big catches last week, though, didn't he?
Yeah. So I mean, but you know, they can't have a Kadarius Toney setting up offsides. You know, or they have to be perfect to beat them. But I think they have a good chance. I mean, Patrick Mahomes alone is. You put him in the playoffs. I mean, I think he's only lost like one game or something like that in
They
the
went to
playoffs.
6 consecutive AFC Championship games, too short of the Patriots. They're
Yeah.
second all time. I mean, if you're in Kansas City, I was just telling my dad about this the other day. I mean, look at the local bars there, restaurant. I mean, they've got to be making a fortune over the
Oh, and
last
it's a
3
great
years.
atmosphere there. You know,
Yeah.
they have a really cool area called Power and Light that has a
Oh,
lot
you've
of
been up
cool
there.
bars. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. And they have a lot of cool bars and stuff. The stadium's a little bit outside the city. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, really, right before you get into the city.
Yeah.
And which is cool because it's a massive parking lot, and
Well, it's
the
right
Kansas City
beside
Royals
the
Stadium is
Royals
right next
play. Yeah.
door, so
Yeah.
they have a dual parking lot. And it's just
Yeah.
a massive tailgate space that they do a
Yeah.
really good job with, and so really cool atmosphere there. That stadium is awesome too, and those fans are you know passionate and as good
Yeah.
as it gets. It's probably that playoff atmosphere in Kansas City is about the closest to a college atmosphere as you're going to get in the
Is that
NFL.
right?
Same thing
Man.
with Baltimore; they have a really good atmosphere too, um, especially in the playoffs, and that's where they're going to be.
Yeah.
So you know, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's going to be a damn good game.
Hey, so you're right. I mean, I haven't made my mind. I'll have to look and see. I know Marlon Humphrey didn't play last week for the Ravens.
Yeah.
That's a big play there when you're going against a guy like a Josh Allen. I don't know, like I think what's his name? Not Rudy Gay. Used to play Gay, the middle linebacker for Kansas City. Pretty good coverage guy. I don't know if he's going to play. It's always some kind of hidden injury. By about Thursday, you think, oh, well, what happened there? You know?
Yeah. They're. I haven't seen any injury reports. I'm not sure who's going to be in and out yet, and we won't know until Friday, anyways. But yeah, I think this is going to be a hell of a game, and I think it's going to be a hell of a game in the NFC too with the Lions and 49ers.
That's a 7-point spread, man.
That's amazing that it's a 7-point spread.
I don't know if it should be that high.
I don't think
Especially with Gardner Johnson coming back from Detroit.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it's a touchdown difference.
Yeah. I think they'll play better, but you don't even know if Deebo Samuel's going to play. He's got to show up.
Yeah, that's a huge person to be out if they're not going to have him, and that's why I don't think it's going to be a 7-point. I just don't see that. I think both games are going to be really tight.
Yeah, about a field goal, man. I think the Niners will win that, but I can't guarantee it. I've got to look at the injury report and see. I know Ragnow got hurt. That was the center for Detroit. It's a great game, though, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of before the Titans came here, I was a 49ers fan, so I'm kind of despite Detroit and that story, you kind of want to pull for them, but me having the child fandom of the 49ers, I'm kind of hoping that they pull it off and win it all.
Nice.
I definitely don't want an AFC team winning either way.
Yeah. My preseason was the Niners and Cincinnati. Cincinnati beating the Niners. Obviously, I'm gonna stick back with the Niners. And here's the thing: even if I think the Ravens will probably win. As of today, on Tuesday, I can tell you that because I don't know what the injury report is. I think the Ravens will probably find a way to win. But you look at, even if it's Detroit or the 49ers, they both were blown out by the Ravens. I do not think that's going to happen again because they've got a sense of Lamar's speed.
Yeah.
Lamar's like what 18-1 or 19-1 against NFC teams.
Oh,
But,
wow.
When you play them again, like the Chargers did his rookie year, second year, whatever, I think it's going to be a little bit closer there. Plus, you get 2 weeks to prepare. I would much
Yeah.
rather see them play the Niners. I think the Niners.
Well, the Niners will match up with them.
Yeah.
Their defense against Lamar matches up way better than the Lions. The Lions defense is, they got a couple of really good players, but as a unit, as a whole, they're just okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're anything
they make
special.
Big mistakes, don't they?
Well, and Lamar is the type of player that he's gonna rattle you because he's just a playmaker, and especially with his legs, that if you don't contain him, then he's gonna make plays, and he's gonna, just like Patrick Mahomes, and when he's out in the open field, he's hard to bring down. He's hard to stop short of the first down, and he just continues to do that and keep drives going, and then they put up points or get field goals, and it makes a difference.
Yeah. A great kicker there. Yeah, he had 100 yards late. Yeah, Pickles. That was Willie Gay, middle linebacker.
Oh yeah,
there, Kansas City. Need him back, but when you've got Spagnato there, Chris Jones, you got those two corners. They're pretty good. I mean, Brett Veach did a good job with Kansas City.
Yeah, the Chiefs defense this year they're probably the best that they've had in a while. I mean, they're really, really good. They have some really elite players at certain positions, and but they're, as a unit, is playing well. And I do think too that there's some extra motivation. I think this is probably Andy Reid's last year coaching.
Have you heard that too?
Yeah,
Carlos said that.
Yeah, I think he's possibly retiring after this year. So there might be some extra motivation for these players to get one more, and so he can ride out in the sunset. But if they fall short, it still kind of leaves that, hey, we can probably do one more year, but we'll see.
Wow, where have you heard that?
I forget where. I've just kind of heard some rumblings, but
well, you're the second.
Just kind of thinking through it.
Yeah. His he's got one son that's in jail. He had another one that OD'd a few years ago. He's been around for a long time. He's got all his rings. But, man, I would try to hang in there and foresee. Mahomes is such a special player. Maybe foresee his career all the way through,
Definitely.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Got to hey, it's that time of year. I have to mute and cough, and I've got water here. I've got cough drops back there, brother. I totally get it. Nashville in January, man. It's raining one day, it's snowing the next.
Yeah, it's like almost 60 degrees today or tomorrow, and it was -2 the other day.
And still snow on some areas. I can't wait when winter's over with. So I guess y'all be talking about this on Thursday's Big Tan and Rich show, right?
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Plus, we'll hear from. I think his press conference might be Thursday.
Yeah,
so I might be able to be there and get some insight on some stuff. And I'll definitely, anything of note, we'll probably mention that on our show Thursday night.
All right, appreciate you coming on, brother. Always a great guest, and if anything big's happen, I'll probably talk to you. At least I know if they make a big move, like maybe in free agency coming up in March.
Yeah, we're about a month and a half away from that starting, and they have a lot of money to spend, so they can definitely buy some pieces there. Yeah. And they have a lot of guys there's going to be a lot of turnover on this roster, so they're going to have to sign a lot of guys, and obviously the draft. But it'll be interesting to see how this roster shapes up with a new head coach. What their schemes are going to be like. I was trying to think of what kind of defense is going to be ran. Is it going to be the same, or are they going to have to overhaul the defense because it's a different scheme?
I never thought about that. Yeah,
there's a lot of there. I do hear that Wink Martindale is a possible DC candidate.
Man, that'd be the best, right?
So yeah, that and I think I'm pretty sure that him and Callahan spent time together in Denver.
Small world, brother.
I mean, that coaching world is definitely a small world. I mean, everybody knows everybody. Everybody's worked with them, or there's probably like 3 or 4 big groups that all have intertwined at some point. So it's definitely a small world, and especially with Callahan's dad been in the league for a long time too, and playing and coaching, and yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. But Martindale is definitely a name to kind of watch to maybe come in as a DC here in Tennessee.
Woo! A person of interest.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's not wanted by anybody.
He's not wanted by the TBI, FBI,
Yeah.
Metro Police. Not that I'm aware of, at least.
Oh, making me cough. Rich Ferris, everybody, from the Titans flagship, 1045 The Zone, Cumulus Radio. Appreciate you coming on, buddy. Have a good night and stay in touch, man.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Let me go ahead and wrap up here. Because I noticed my Instagram just went off. It's 1 hour. That's it. So I got to keep it in within 1 hour. Tomorrow with Keith Engel from TGI Sports will be on the program. Going to ask him about the Patriots hire of Jared Mayo, and I'm going to tell him, hey, listen, I would have fired him as soon as he would have said those smart remarks at the press conference. But want to get Keith Engel's insight on that. Haven't had Keith on in a while. Going to get his thoughts on Jim Harbaugh, Nick Saban suddenly retire. Love Keith Engel. He's going to be great. Tune in tomorrow, 30 minutes past the hour, here on Sports Scope. Have a good night, everybody. Tune in tomorrow, same time, same place. Going to have a great show. And a great show tonight, too. Thank you, Pickles.